What's up, party people? It's Keys Dan with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live and in living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Smarter? It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do you go? DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote. And maybe you can have me at your next event, entertaining you and the people you love. And if you'd like to tell your story, I encourage you to check out my other podcast, What Makes You Famous. Find it everywhere using the hashtag What Makes You Famous. For today, learn with me on What Makes You Smarter. Now, on with the show. Today on the program, 10 things you need to know today for Sunday, February 2nd, 2020, Groundhog Day. 10 things you need to know today. Number 1. First death resulting from coronavirus outside China reported. Philippines reported the first death resulting from the Wuhan coronavirus outside of China on Sunday. A 44-year-old man who tested positive for the new coronavirus died Saturday in the Philippines after developing what officials called, quote, severe pneumonia, end quote. He was reportedly in stable condition until the final 24 hours. The patient was a native of Wuhan, China, where the virus appears to have originated. He arrived in the Philippines in January with a 38-year-old woman who also tested positive for the coronavirus and remains isolated in a hospital in Manila. In China, officials reported Sunday that the country's death toll rose to at least 304 people, and the worldwide confirmed cases, the vast majority within China, has reached nearly 14,380 per Chinese and World Health Organization data. This is according to the Associated Press and the New York Times. Number 2, Chiefs and 49ers set for Super Bowl clash. Super Bowl 54 will kick off at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, Florida at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox. The NFC champion San Francisco 49ers will take on their AFC counterpart, the Kansas City Chiefs, in what is expected to be a highly entertaining game. San Francisco finished 13-3 on the year and cruised in their 2 playoff games, led by coach Kyle Shanahan. A dominant run game and stalwart defense, the Niners are considered one of the league's most complete teams. Kansas City, meanwhile, finished 12-4 and has an electric offense featuring one of the game's most talented players in quarterback Patrick Mahomes. In other football news, 5 players, Troy Edgerrin James, Steve Atwater, Isaac Bruce, and Steve Hutchinson, were elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame on Saturday. This is according to ESPN and CBS News. Number 3, court filing shows Justice Department has emails related to Trump Ukraine aid freeze. A court filing late Friday night revealed the Justice Department has 24 emails related to President Trump's involvement in freezing military aid to Ukraine, CNN reports. The filing was released just a few hours after the Senate voted against calling additional witnesses to testify in the impeachment trial. The Trump administration is reportedly still blocking their content from the public and has kept them away from Congress. But the court filing is the first time the administration has publicly acknowledged the email's existence. A lawyer for the Office of Management and Budget wrote to the court that the emails should remain private because they describe communication by Trump, Vice President Mike Pence, or Trump's immediate advisors, quote, regarding presidential decision-making about the scope, duration, and purpose of the hold on military assistance to Ukraine, end quote. This is according to CNN. Number 4, key Iowa polls cancels result reveal before caucuses. With the Iowa caucuses swiftly approaching, the state's most highly regarded poll from CNN and the Des Moines Register was canceled Saturday. CNN decided to pull the plug on the highly anticipated survey in the lead up to Monday's caucuses after campaign aides to former South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg raised concerns about how interviews were conducted. Buttigieg's name was reportedly left out of an interview, and it was unclear if other candidates were similarly omitted. A source familiar with the situation said the Buttigieg campaign applauded CNN and the Register, quote, for their integrity, end quote, after deciding against releasing the results of the poll, which have traditionally given leading candidates a momentum boost going into the caucuses. This is according to the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times. Number 5, Arab League rejects Trump's Israel plan. The foreign ministers of the 22 member states of the Arab League unanimously rejected the Trump administration's proposal to end the Israel-Palestine conflict unveiled last week. The resolution said the plan, quote, does not satisfy the minimum of the rights and aspirations of the Palestinian people, end quote. It is considered a win for Palestine President Mahmoud Abbas, who cut security ties with Israel and the U.S. on Saturday, and the Palestinian Liberation Organization, because it means the White House can't claim to have support from neighboring Arab countries. Not every country condemned the plan. Some, like the United Arab Emirates, Oman, and Morocco, have suggested it could be the basis for future talks and applauded Washington's efforts, but they don't think the current iteration is viable. This is according to Axios and Deutsche Welle. Number 6, Pompeo urges Kazakhstan to take a stand against Chinese repression. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo made a brief visit to Nur Sultan, Kazakhstan, on Sunday, where he urged the country, which neighbors and has close ties to China, to join the U.S., quote, in pressing for an immediate end, end quote, to Beijing's repression of minority groups like the Uyghurs and the ethnic Kazakhs. Pompeo, Kazakhstan, and all countries to, quote, provide safe refuge and asylum to those seeking to flee China, end quote. Both the U.S. and China are major investors in Kazakhstan, and Pompeo also took time to encourage the country to, quote, partner with American companies, end quote, though he began by saying Washington fully supports their, quote, freedom to choose to do business with whichever country it wants, end quote. This is according to the Associated Press and Reuters. Number 6, at least 20 killed in church service stampede in Tanzania. At least 20 people were killed and 16 other injured during a Pentecostal service at a stadium led by a popular preacher in the town of Moshi, Tanzania. On evening, Kipi Warioba, Moshi's district commissioner, said the casualties were a result of a stampede after attendees rushed forward to be anointed by oil the preacher Boniface Mwamposa poured on the ground. Witnesses said people were hoping to be cured of sickness. Police said Mwamposa was being held for questioning, and authorities are still looking into the possibility of more casualties because there were so many people at the service. This is according to BBC and Al Jazeera. Number 8, real estate veteran to take over as WeWork CEO. As the rebound from a failed initial public offering and departure of its founder and former CEO, Adam Neumann, WeWork reportedly plans to name Sandeep Mathrani as its new executive, the Wall Street Journal reported Saturday. Mathrani is a real estate industry veteran who previously led Brookfield Property Partners retail group. He'll replace Artie Minson and Sebastian Guttingham, who led WeWork's parent company, We Company, as CEOs following Newman's departure in September. Mathrani is expected to usher in WeWork's new era with a focus on recruiting its image as a real estate company leasing office space rather than a technology startup, as was the case under Newman, the Journal reports. This is according to the Wall Street Journal and Reuters. Number 9, Parasite wins Best Original Screenplay at WGA Awards. Parasite took home the honors for Best Original Screenplay at the Writers Guild of America Awards ceremony Saturday evening, while Jojo Rabbit won for Best Adapted Screenplay. Both movies are nominated in those categories, as well as for Best Picture in next week's 92nd Annual Academy Awards. On the television side, the WGA awarded Succession and Barry as the Best Drama and Comedy, respectively, while Watchmen was named Best New Series. The WGA Awards wasn't the only major ceremony this weekend. The 73rd British Academy Film Awards will air Sunday. This is according to Variety and IndieWire. Number 10, Djokovic wins Australian Open. Novak Djokovic captured his 17th Grand Slam title after rallying to defeat Dominic Thiem in the Australian Open's men's singles finals at Rod Laver Arena in Melbourne. Djokovic was down 2-1 and at one point lost 6 straight games to Thiem, but he settled down and secured the victory in 5 sets: 6-4, 4-6, 2-6, 6-3, 6-4. It's the 32-year-old Serbian's 8th Australian Open crown and his 2nd in a row. With the win, Djokovic inches closer to Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal, who have 20 and 19 Grand Slam titles, respectively, and older than their on-court rival. Djokovic will also repeatedly supplant Nadal as the world's number 1 men's player as a result of the Melbourne win. The 26-year-old Austrian Thiem has now appeared in 3 major titles, but has yet to get his hands on a trophy. This is according to ESPN. That's 10 things you need to know today for Groundhog Day, Sunday, February 2nd, 2020. That's it for this edition of What Makes You Smarter. If you'd like to tell your story, I encourage you to check out my other podcast, What Makes You Famous. Find it everywhere using the hashtag What Makes You Famous. That's it for me. It's Keys Dan, RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com. Peace. I'm out of here. If you like what you hear, I encourage you to follow What Makes You Smarter on social media. Find it on Facebook at What Makes You Smarter, Instagram at What Makes You Smarter, Twitter at SmarterWhat, and YouTube, username Keys Dan. Leave What Makes You Smarter podcast a review and subscribe. Listen to What Makes You Smarter podcast on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and Podcast Addict. My personal favorite, learn with me on my podcast, What Makes You Smarter. And if you'd like to tell your story, I encourage you to check out my other podcast, What Makes You Famous. Find it everywhere using the hashtag What Makes You Famous. Call 501-470-6386 and leave a message to set up a time for What Makes You Famous. Support What Makes You Smarter podcast using the PayPal, paypal.me/Keys Dan. Email info@radiowhat.com. What Makes You Smarter is a production of Keys Dan Enterprises Incorporated at keysdan.com. Thank you for listening.